This is a production of PBS Charlotte.
The following episode of Charlotte Cooks is brought to you by Central Piedmont Community College and viewers like you. Thank you.
Coming up on this episode of Charlotte Cooks, do you know what this is? This is the plant-based protein. Stay tuned and find out all about it. Welcome to this episode of Charlotte Cooks. I am Chef Pamela Roberts. I'm so glad you're here today, and I'm real excited because I have got Chef Heidi Bellotto with me. And if you've been around Charlotte for any length of time, you know about Heidi. She is our local food expert, and she is here to tell us about tempeh. So Heidi, I've heard of tempeh before,
right?
But not tempeh. So tell us about that.
So tempeh is a traditional Japanese food. It is a plant-based protein made with soybeans, and it is fermented.
Okay.
And during the fermented process, the soybeans grow, and it becomes a block, and it's cut in blocks and sold that way.
Okay.
And it looks just like this, and that's what tempeh looks like.
Okay.
Tempeh.
Let me see that for a second.
Okay, there you go.
Oh wow, look at that. So this is...
So it's got soybeans, and this particular one has rice and grains in it.
Okay.
And
You
it
can
comes
see the
lots of
barley.
different ways. So, but traditionally, tempeh is made just with soybeans, no rice, no grains, no anything else, just fermented soybeans, and it's in a block.
Okay, and so if you were in the store, this is what tempeh would look like in the store, right?
Correct. What's happened in recent years is lots of times people have soy-based allergies, or they don't want to, particularly women, don't want to eat so much soy.
Right.
And so some very creative people in North Carolina have come up with a product called tempeh. They make it the tempeh exactly like you would make tempeh, but they do it some with soy and some with other legumes and some hemp seed.
Oh,
so
fun.
it becomes very high in protein, but it's made in the traditional method. So it's still those legumes, sometimes they're soy, sometimes they're other seeds or beans, sometimes peanuts often. And this is how that comes packaged in your stores, just like this. And
So we've got a
it
couple
comes in
of-
3 different varieties. So they're marinated essentially. There's a Asian miso, a raspberry habanero, and a salt and pepper. And it's all just a block. It looks just like this when you take it out. It's sealed. Let me just show you. When you buy it, it's in a package like that. So it's vacuum sealed. You can keep it in your refrigerator or your freezer. It's a wonderful plant-based protein. And that's what we're going to talk about today.
Now, is it similar to tofu at all?
Well, only in the fact that tofu is made from soy.
Okay.
So that's the only relation, and tofu is also a lovely plant-based protein. But tempeh has more nutrients, and tempeh is fermented.
Okay.
So tofu is not.
All right.
And
it
so,
actually looks delicious.
So here's the cool thing about tempeh. You know when you're cooking with meat and you go to marinate it for a recipe, you marinate it first, you slice it or chop it or do whatever you're going to do. You marinate it and then you cook it.
Right.
And then you proceed with your recipe.
Right.
Just the opposite with tempeh and tempeh too.
Okay.
So we're going to cook the tempeh or the tempeh first and then add the marinade to it. And that helps to keep the tempeh from drying out.
Okay.
And it helps to just infuse the flavors.
All the way through.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So the first thing we're going to do is a main course dish with a marinated tempeh and a really fun vegetable slaw. You can use anything you want. We're going to use cabbage, carrots, cucumbers, and fennel today.
Oh, that sounds delicious.
So the first thing we're going to do is to make our marinade so that it will be done. The tempeh cooks very quickly. And so as soon as it cooks, we want to add the marinade to it. So we're going to start off with some lemon and lime juice, and I've just got several lemons and limes here. We're going to squeeze those right in. I know that there are gadgets to do this, but I really like doing this by hand. I don't know, it just is kind of fun. And you can make your limes and lemons softer by rolling them to get the juices out. And also if you want to pop them in the microwave for a minute.
I was just going to say, some people say put them in the microwave a little bit. And
it's huge.
It
really
get
does,
more juice out of them.
Does make a big difference. Now, to add a more lemony flavor, we're going to add the zest, which is the outside yellow part or orange part or color part of the fruit. We're going to use this great gadget, which is called a microplane. And what I like to do, you see a lot of times chefs doing this. and going back and forth. I think it's so much easier to turn it. The microplanes curve.
I do too.
And if you just come like this,
yeah, you can see what you're getting.
You don't have to do it like you see a lot of places. So you can collect that all in the microplane, and then we're just going to dump it right in there.
Right.
And you can add more if you want to. It adds the oils of the citrus fruit. So you could do it with limes too. It adds a more intense flavor, and it also adds some color to your marinade. Next thing we're going to add are some fresh herbs. I prefer to use fresh herbs. So we're going to step over to your kitchen garden.
My little kitchen garden.
And we're going to pick some mint and some cilantro and some fresh basil.
Absolutely.
So a little bit more mint.
Fresh herbs in the kitchen.
And those are all flavors that are used a lot in Asian cooking, and this is really a Thai recipe.
Okay.
So we're going to take those fresh herbs, roll them in a bundle, and just use a big chef's knife, not a teeny little knife, and just slice them up to mince. And those go right in to our marinade. And then we're going to add some fresh ginger root. We're just going to slice the ginger into 1/4-inch slices, only because that's an easy way to chop up. Because it's the baby ginger, you don't have to peel it. You just have to rinse it off. Everything's good. And we're just going to mince. And we're going to do that the same way I did the herbs earlier. So we'll cut thin slices.
And then just turn them and chop them again.
That's exactly right. So you have little pieces. Ginger can be hot in a recipe, but baby ginger, when it's just picked, is not as spicy, not as hot.
It's really nice, isn't it?
It's got a lovely flavor. You could put it in the food processor. To preserve it, you can just cut a bunch of slices and put them in a jar with a little bit of dry vermouth or brandy if you want to, or white wine, and just keep that in your refrigerator. Or you can cut the slices or mince the slices just like this, and put it in a little Ziploc bag or a little freezer container and keep it in your freezer.
Yeah, sometimes I'll take it and I'll put it in a little ice cube tray. Right. And that way you can have them that way.
Perfect.
Just
and then you just pop up the ice cube and you would put that ice cube right in there.
Right.
Now, if you could hand me we've got some Asian soy sauce. This is a mushroom soy sauce, which I really love, and this is available in Asian food stores. We're going to add, carefully measured, about 3 tablespoons. Great thing about a marinade is, you can just sort of put in what you like and what you don't like.
You can make it happen.
Yeah, that's right. And then this is roasted sesame oil. So you'll see that it's a brown color. It's important that you buy the roasted one.
Absolutely.
And then we're going to add some coconut milk. And what I have here is actually canned coconut cream. So it's a little bit thicker. I like that better in this marinade, but the coconut milk works fabulous too. And we're just going to add a little bit of that to this, and that's going to thicken that up. And then we want to add a little bit of miso. So miso is another soy-based product. We're going to use the dark miso in this case.
Okay, we're going to talk about the two
We're going to talk about both of them,
right? Because there's 2 different kinds.
This company, this is another Asian product made in North Carolina.
Yeah.
So these 2 misos, this is a mellow white and this is a traditional red miso. Exactly the same miso. There's nothing added. It's just that the red miso is aged, and they're both fermented products. So the aged miso has a fuller flavor. So we're going to add a couple tablespoons or so of that red miso. This is fabulous. You could take this and spread this over a piece of salmon and wrap it in plastic wrap and let it sit overnight, and it works great. Just beautiful for a fabulous marinade. So that is our marinade for our
miso, coconut milk, lemon juice, lime juice, mint, basil, cilantro. What else do we have in there? Sesame oil.
Sesame oil. Any
garlic
kind of
if you want
citrus.
it.
So you've got sweet, savory, spicy if you wanted. You could use a spicy sesame oil if you wanted to do that. So we're going to grab one of our pieces of tempeh, and we're going to, this is what you do. It's the same master recipe anytime you cook tempeh. So we're going to just cut it into sort of thick slices for this salad.
So depending on what you're using it for is how you would cut it, right?
Correct. You could cut it in cubes. You could cut it in really thin slices, which we're going to do a little bit later in the show. This size of a slice is good for sandwiches. It's good for entrees like this. And the other thing you can do is to grate it. Just on a grater.
It doesn't crumble?
No, it grates into shreds kind of, and then you can use it as a base for making veggie burgers or meatballs.
Aren't you clever?
Mix a little bit of that grated with the miso and you've got a great meatball. You do want to cook it. You don't want to eat it raw because it's a fermented product, so you really want to cook it. So we're going to move over to our frying pan. And I'm just going to use a big frying pan so you can see the whole process. We're going to heat up the pan first. I like to cook it in olive oil. So we're going to take a little bit of olive oil. This is another product with a North Carolina footprint.
There you go.
Because olives don't really grow in the Carolinas. They do grow in the South.
No, but we have olive growers that live in North
Carolina, right? So they have olive groves in other parts of the world, and they import their olive oil. We're gonna just enough to coat the pan, and then we're gonna take our tempeh and just lay it right down in the pan. It cooks very quickly, and the thinner that it is, the quicker that it will cook.
Just like any other kind of meat.
And we're doing it over high heat. And we're going to let it brown and then flip it over to brown both sides. This is the other reason we don't want to marinate ahead of time. As you know, wet things do not brown.
Right.
So Julia Child taught us that. So dry things brown, and so the tempeh and the hempeh is dry. And that's what you want. We start to see some little bubbling, just let it brown, and then we're going to flip it over, brown the other side, and then we're going to add our marinade. So the master recipe for cooking the hempeh is to saute first. You don't have to steam it. A lot of old recipes will tell you to steam, but then it's wet.
Right.
And if you take the wet product and put it in hot fat, nothing happens.
You're not going to get that golden brown. It's not going to get crispy either.
And then, once it's all cooked, we want to add moisture back in.
Okay, and that's where the marinade
And that's when we add our marinade.
Okay,
right.
good.
So if you don't have a marinade, you could add salad dressing, you could add water, you could add vegetable broth. Probably don't want to add chicken or beef broth because you're working with a plant-based protein.
Right.
But you could. You could absolutely do it. Okay, so now we're getting some browning. I'm going to turn that down just a tad. So what we're going to do is to put this on top of a slaw or a salad, or you'll see later on we're going to use exactly the same master recipe to do this on a sandwich. See the beautiful browning we're getting now?
Brown, yeah.
But I've got my marinade right here. Give it a little stir because you don't want anything to sink to the bottom, and you want everything well blended there. That just gets poured over while the pan's still hot. At this point, if you want your tempeh to be more tender, it's not tough, but you could put a lid on it and it'll steam a little bit on the pan or not. Doesn't matter. Then you take the lid off. You just have the lid on for about a minute. Take the lid off. Let that liquid start to evaporate so that we have a nice sauce. And you're done with the cooking of the tempeh.
It smells marvelous.
Doesn't it?
It really smells
So the tempeh
good.
itself doesn't have a ton of flavor, but it does have a fermented taste.
So, Heidi, we're going to make the dressing for the slaw and put that slaw together.
Correct. And you could, in fact, dress it with whatever your favorite dressing is. But we're going to keep playing with those same Asian flavors.
All right.
And so we're going to start again with a little bit of lemon juice. Here, we'll just squeeze and pull out any seeds. We're going to add a little bit of the sesame oil. We'll put that right in. Again, the dark sesame oil. And a little bit of the soy sauce.
The soy sauce.
Now, and this is that mushroom soy that I love. You also could use nam pla.
Nam pla is like a fish sauce.
It is,
and it's very salty.
Salty, but has a depth of flavor. Be sure when you buy the nam pla that you do keep that in your refrigerator.
Yes.
So we're going to use the miso.
Miso? Which one? The red or the white?
The white miso, the mellow white.
Okay.
This is a great ingredient in brownies,
Yes.
in all kinds of baked goods.
You put miso in brownies?
Yeah.
I haven't tried that.
But then brownies become a healthy thing to eat, see?
Oh, hey,
There's a method to my madness.
And chocolate is a plant.
That's
so
right.
we can consider it a vegetable, right?
Well,
So
it's a plant-based dessert. There you
There we
go.
go.
Perfect.
Any excuse, right?
Let's make it work. And then we're going to add, you could add brown sugar if you wanted to, which is what's classically used in Asian recipes, but this is a local product. This is sorghum syrup molasses.
Okay.
You'll find this all over in the mountains of North Carolina. You also find it at local farmers markets here, and I'm going to show you a quick trick. We're going to pour, but if we pour, as you know, when we stop pouring, it's going to start to drip down the thing. So same thing with honey. Take your knife, position it like that. Pour whatever you need. So this is like a maple syrup almost consistency, and then cut, and nothing comes down the side of
And your rim stays clean.
Right. And it's not all sticky and gooey.
Oh, that's brilliant.
So we're going to mix this up and just blend that together. So now we're going to do our vegetables. So we've got some grated cabbage
here.
Just regular
shredded cabbage.
It happens to be all this is local. Everything we're cooking with is local. And if you can hear me, the carrots, I want to just show these.
You've got some gorgeous carrots
These are
here.
rainbow carrots. It's a variety that in the seed pack you get seeds for orange, yellow, red, all those different kind of colors of carrots.
I think these are gorgeous.
And I just shredded them with a cool little shredder, and then we added some shredded fennel. So that's going to add kind of a nice licoricey taste to this mix. And then we're going to add some sliced cucumbers. And so what we have are little crescents that we're going to add there.
Makes a pretty cut in the salad.
Yeah, it does. And so everything in a slaw doesn't have to be long and shredded.
Right.
It can be all different shapes and sizes. We're going to take our salad dressing and put it right over the top. We'll toss that with our tongs.
There we go.
And then if you want to hand me a plate, we're ready to plate it up.
Oh, are we?
So the slaw truly is better done a little bit ahead of time, just so that it has a chance to sit and these flavors have a chance to, to mellow a little bit.
Could that sit overnight successfully?
Yes, absolutely.
2 or 3
Beautifully. 2 or 3 days is probably your max. Then you're going to be, because the vegetables are going to get soggy and the cabbage starts to get brown. To serve this, I'm going to come back here. Is that okay?
Yeah.
All right. So we're going to take, and you can do a big platter of this, great for a buffet, just like that. A little bit of
that
our
looks
slaw.
so pretty.
So lots of pretty colors.
Gorgeous colors.
And then we're going to add our tempeh, and we'll just come right around like that. Ready to roll.
Beautiful colors. Now, what would one portion of this be? This would be like family style.
I'd
here,
say
wouldn't
this
it?
is like a family style platter, yes. But the packages are of most of all the tempeh that I showed you from North Carolina, and most packages of tempeh are about 8 ounces. Now we're going to garnish a little bit with some microgreens, local microgreens, and then pumpkin seeds.
Oh, let's
And we were
toast
going to
some
toast the pumpkin
pumpkin seeds,
seeds. So when you're toasting any kind of seed or nut, you don't want to add oil to it because seeds and nuts already have a lot of oil,
Yes,
right?
they do.
So we're just going to put the microgreens right on top. These are from a local farm. These happen to be beet greens, so if these grew up, they
they're
would
pretty.
be beet plants, and I love the color
They're gorgeous.
that they add. And then we'll put the pumpkin seeds toast very quickly, and they add a really nice crunch. So in a dry pan, you just toss them around in the heat until you start to smell them, until they become aromatic, and then they're ready to go. And you can toast ahead of time and keep them in the freezer if you want to. So you don't, and that if you just keep them in your pantry after they're toasted, they're going to turn a little bit faster, and they'll have an off smell. And if you wanted to, instead of the slaw, you could do it over a noodle, like a ramen noodle or rice. I like the slaw because it's crunchy, it has nice texture, and offers a good foil to the softer tempeh.
Absolutely, it does.
So that's all there is to do.
So we're going to make a sandwich next.
Yes,
aren't we?
yes,
So
we're gonna use the
while
tempeh.
we're toasting these, we'll get ready for the sandwich.
Yeah, we're going to
Okay.
do a great tempeh Reuben.
Oh, can't wait. Okay.
So we're going to cut the tempeh the same way that we did for our salad into thicker slices.
I see why you called it a master recipe, because it is pretty much the same every time.
Exactly
isn't it?
the same.
Okay.
And you know, for the salad, I could have done chunks and cubes if we wanted to do that. So we've got the tempeh done here, and we're going to come over and saute it. So a little bit of olive oil. So again, we're sauteing the tempeh dry, and then we're going to add a liquid ingredient to it.
Okay. And what liquid are we going to add this time?
We're going to add sauerkraut because we're making a Reuben.
Sauerkraut. Oh, that makes so much sense.
There are pieces of tempeh go in the hot fat. They just lay right in there. This will make 2 sandwiches. So if you're doing 4 sandwiches or a crowd, or you've got people over for some event, then you'll want to have a couple packages. I'd say a half a package a person, as we talked about before. So we're going to brown that on both sides, just as we did before. And then here's what we're going to add to it. This is just regular sauerkraut. You can find local sauerkraut. You can find it in the grocery store. You want it with the liquid in it. We're going to add some caraway seeds to that. And I like to err on the side of too much caraway. I know you said I had plenty of caraway there, but I like the taste of caraway. So, and to me, in a Reuben, because we're going to put it on rye bread, which has caraway in it, we're going to echo that inside the sandwich as well. So that's ready. That's our sauce. That's our liquid. So ready to go.
So that tempeh will actually absorb that sourness from the sauerkraut too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you get the sauerkraut on the sandwich, and then the tempeh tastes like sauerkraut too. So it takes on the flavor of whatever you put on it. So if you have a package of, or 2 or 3, of the tempeh in your refrigerator or your freezer, then you have dinner in a matter of minutes. So it's just such an easy way to go. And, you know, I'm not saying don't eat meat, but I'm saying sometimes a plant-based protein is a nice alternative.
And, you know, a lot of people are doing Meatless Mondays now.
Right.
And this is a wonderful way to do a Meatless Monday. and still have some wonderful flavor. It does not mean you have to sacrifice flavor. Not at all.
Oh, not at all.
Not at
In
all.
fact, this is incredibly flavorful. So, browned on both sides.
Right.
We're going to add our kraut. So the kraut, I have to say, this is another little thing my husband taught me.
Okay.
He's going to be shocked that I'm crediting him with
You know-
all of
you know,
this cooking
Tom has got a lot of
experience.
tricks up his sleeve.
So we're going to add the liquid. So now the sauerkraut's going to start to brown too.
Okay, nice.
This you could have as a main course if you wanted to, with a vegetable on the side. You could cut instead of cutting strips of the tempeh, I could have cut the whole piece diagonally and had like a tempeh steak with sauerkraut, like a chop, you know, if you were doing meat.
So
We're just gonna-
could you do like a Wiener Schnitzel kind of thing with this, with like the wonderful gravy and?
So you could take
the
those pieces and
lemons
do it like you would do a bratwurst
Just like
if
you
you
could
wanted
do
to,
anything, right?
or Wiener. Yeah, absolutely.
I'm
It's
loving
a
this.
perfect substitute. We're just going to let that kind of warm up, and while it does, we're going to make the sauce for our Reuben sandwich, which is Thousand Island dressing.
Okay, so tell us about your Thousand Island dressing.
So Thousand Island dressing is classically, you can buy it if you want to.
buy
So
it.
simple, done. Or you can start with mayonnaise, and you can make your own mayonnaise if you wanted to do that. But start with mayonnaise. This is a local mayonnaise from the Carolinas.
There we go,
So
another
everybody
one.
knows what that is, right? And then we're going to add ketchup to it. So I'm going to come over here to
Okay.
the board because it's going to be
Okay.
easier to do this part. This is a local ketchup from Asheville.
Okay.
It's a hot and smoky ketchup. So you could make your Thousand Island dressing with cocktail sauce if you wanted to, with chili sauce, but we're going to kind of mix up equal parts here. If you're just using regular ketchup, which is going to have a sweet taste, then
Very
you want to
sweet.
beef it up with a little bit of some pickle relish and some onion and maybe a little garlic if you wanted to. A little bit of lemon juice. So just stir that all in. That is your homemade Thousand Island dressing. That will last in your refrigerator, same as mayonnaise. So, you know.
It smells
yeah,
so good.
yeah.
You can smell the smoke in that ketchup.
I love this ketchup. It's really good. And I've written about, you know, I write about all these local products on
Right,
my blog.
right.
So that's at HeidiBellatoFood.com. So there we go. There's our
So
Thousand Island dressing.
Definitely. If you want to
Done.
know more about some of these ingredients, she talks all about them on her blog. So check out her blog.
Now let's check back at our tempeh here. See how we're losing the liquid?
Yeah.
That's what you want, because we
Okay.
don't want liquidy sauerkraut on our sandwich.
Okay.
But we wanted all that flavor from the liquid. So we're just going to turn that burner off now. Our bread is also local.
Okay.
So we've got a pumpernickel rye and a regular rye. You can use whatever kind you want. We're going to put the salad dressing on both sides. And you can do that to taste, but it's a big old sandwich, so
Yeah.
we don't want it to be sloshy,
Right.
right? Now we're going to add some cheese. And
Okay.
I've got two different kinds of Swiss cheese here. We've got a Jarlsberg cheese, and we've got a Gruyere cheese, both classic Swiss cheeses. So we'll do Swiss on one, we'll do Gruyere on the other. Now we're going to top this with the tempeh and tempeh and
Okay.
sauerkraut mixture.
All right.
We'll just layer that on. Now, my husband likes, and I do too, a lot of sauerkraut.
Yeah, me too.
So we'll make that a hefty layer. Now, here's the secret. We're going to fry this sandwich.
Okay.
We're going to top that over there. Instead of putting butter on your bread to make a grilled cheese or any kind of grilled sandwich, we're going to turn to our mayonnaise again.
yep.
So this is a tip I learned from a local chef in Charlotte. He has a grilled cheese food truck,
Oh, yes.
and this is how he
Yes.
does it. So
Yes.
mayo on top, spread that around.
I'll sometimes put mayonnaise on fish before I put it in the oven. Same kind of principle. It's oil and eggs, you know. So
Right. And the mayo, when you bake it like that, really adds a nice crust.
It does. It
So
really does.
if you can pop a piece or two of butter in there,
Okay.
instead of olive oil, we're going to use butter to brown this.
All right.
Heat up the pan on high heat. Now this part's a little messy, but you know, that's part of the fun, right?
Yeah.
We're going to turn it over to mayonnaise the other side. See what a good thick sandwich this is?
It does look good.
We want the butter to get hot and sizzly.
You want to use a nice heavy pan because once again we're looking for nice golden brown on it.
Right, right. And I love these pans. They look messy, but they've just have a patina now, so they're great.
When you get them the way you want them, that's it.
Right in. Now, we're going to let it brown on one side, flip it over, brown on the other side. There we go. We will cut this in half. And I suggest, I think Pamela will agree, a big chef's knife for cutting in half. Little paring knife, not so good for
Not
cutting
so good.
things in half.
Not so good.
There we go. Look at that sandwich.
Look at
looks
that
fabulous.
sandwich. Oh, that looks marvelous.
Stack it like that, so that adds a nice
Yeah,
presentation. Pickle on the
nice.
side or some slaw. You're ready to roll.
Let's get a nice pickle on there. There we go. All right.
Yay.
That looks
That's
marvelous.
it.
That looks
Tempeh
marvelous.
Reuben.
So you guys, Heidi, this has been a fabulous show. I have really learned a lot about hempeh and a plant-based protein. So here we have a hempeh Reuben with a beautiful house-made half-sour pickle. And then remember our salad that we made here, and we're going to add some of our toasted pumpkin seeds to this just to really make this whole salad just pop. Now remember what she was talking about, you can add a different kind of nut mixture if you wanted. You can toast some hemp hearts to keep up with the hempeh. You can put some cashews or other things in it, but look at these two beautiful dishes that we've made with our local hempeh. I really appreciate you tuning in and watching this episode of Charlotte Cooks. If you want the recipes, send me an email to Pamela, Pamela.Roberts, Roberts, at cpcc.edu, or you can check them out on our website at pbscharlotte.org. And by all means, guys, don't be afraid of this. Jump into it because it's so full of flavor and it's absolutely delicious. Do you have anything to tell our viewers today, Heidi?
Lots of hempeh recipes on my blog.
There you
I
go.
cook with a lot
There
of,
you go.
and for a lot of local product as well. So HeidiBellatoFood.com.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for having me. It has been a pleasure sharing the joys of eating local.
I can't wait to eat. So let's wrap this show up.
All right.
Okay. Thank you for tuning in, guys, and we will catch you next time on Charlotte Cooks.
A production of PBS Charlotte.